सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। Freedom from sadness, freedom from grief, that's the topic of our discussion during these 3 days. Sadness or grief seems to be a way of life for human being. Human being is a sad creature, a grieving creature. And that is why Bhagavad Gita addresses this problem of human sadness. As you know very well, that Arjuna became very sad, was grieving, and that created the need, or that created the opportunity, let us say, of the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. What made Arjuna sad is understandable. He was the leader of the Pandava army, and before starting the battle, he requested his charioteer, Lord Krishna, to place his chariot between the two armies so that he could survey the armies. And what he saw in both the armies were his near and dear ones, his cousins, uncles, grandfather, friends, in-laws, teachers. This is what he saw in both the armies. And recognizing that as a result of this battle, all these people will die. It is the possibility or the eventuality of death of the near and dear ones that plunged him into grief. Looking at Arjuna's condition, you would think it's understandable. Who would not grieve? When it comes to the death of a near one, it is a natural cause for grief. Anybody would be grieving, anybody would be sad. And still we find that Lord Krishna does not quite sympathize with Arjuna's feeling of grief. Lord Krishna says, Ashochan anvasochastvam. Hey Arjuna, you are grieving over that which does not deserve to be grieved for. This is a big statement. It's not that Lord Krishna is insensitive, does not understand the cause of Arjuna's grief, or that he is not sensitive to the feelings of Arjuna, or that Lord Krishna does not understand what death means. All of these, of course, Lord Krishna knows. And he sees an Arjuna in front of him who is in tears. Tam tatha krupaya vishtam ashrupurna kolekshanam vishidantam idam vakyam uvacha madhusudana. Arjuna's mind was filled with pity. His eyes were filled with tears. To an Arjuna such as that, Lord Krishna addresses. So Bhagavad Gita is addressed to a person who is grieving, who is overcome by grief, overcome by sadness. Arjuna was so much overcome by grief that he found himself incapable of responding to the situation at hand. He had come to the battlefield to fight this battle, to fight against the forces of adharma. Pandavas represented the forces of dharma, and Duryodhana and his army represented the forces of adharma. So ideally, this was the battle between dharma and adharma. Not so much between Pandavas and Kauravas, but between dharma and adharma. And it is the duty of Kshatriya to protect dharma. It is duty of Kshatriya to offer an active resistance against evil. And Arjuna knew this. Arjuna knew what his duty was, that he was to respond to the situation and offer resistance against the aggression of the evil which Duryodhana represented. So, protection does not only mean that we protect ourselves, but it sometimes is necessary to fight against the evil also, which is what the Kshatriya is required to do. He came here prepared to do this, but because of his grief, he completely lost control over himself and found himself incapable of responding to the situation. He reported to Lord Krishna, Lord, this Gandiva, my bow, is slipping away from my hand. I am not able to stand. All the signs of grief are described. Drishvevam svajanam Krishna yuyutsum samupasthitam sidanti mamagatrani mukham cha parishusyati. My body has become loose, my mouth is dry, my skin is burning, the hair on my skin are standing, I cannot stand, the bow is slipping from my hand, I am feeling giddy, I see bad omens. This is how Arjuna reports his condition. All the signs of a person who is overcome by sadness or grief. And thus, whatever enthusiasm Arjuna had was all drained out. Arjuna totally lost the motivation to fight this battle. His strength was completely drained. His enthusiasm or motivation was gone. He found himself incapable of facing the situation. So this is what we have to understand, learn from the situation of Arjuna. Thank God that we are not required to face such situations where there is a question of killing or being killed. However, the kind of grief that Arjuna felt is what we often feel. even without those grave situations, we find ourselves grieving, being sad over even small events. And therefore, what caused grief to Arjuna would be different from what causes grief to us. All that is necessary for me to become sad is just a frown on your face, just a word from your mouth. If I feel that you have insulted me, you disrespected me, you may not have, it is my perception. It is possible that you did not intend any disrespect, but if I perceive your words, your behavior, your expression, sometimes your intention, I think you don't like me, but I haven't said anything, but he infers my intention. So sometimes by perception, by inference, it's my perception only. In my perception, you have insulted me. And I feel hurt. My feelings are hurt. Even that is enough to cause sadness in me. Even depression in me. So we find that even small events also cause sadness to us. It looks like sadness is just waiting. Is only looking for an opportunity just to manifest itself. In case of Arjuna also, we can say that. Of course, he felt aggrieved today. But I think that the grief was there deeply in his heart. And perhaps this kind of situation was needed for that grief to become manifest. Because every human being is suffering from grief. The cause of grief or cause of sadness lies within our own self. Although usually we attribute the cause of our unhappiness to someone else, sometimes it is spouse, sometimes it is child, sometimes it is parent, sometimes it is neighbor, sometimes it is boss, somebody or the other. So the world is like that. Who are the cause for our grief, for our sadness? That's what we think. But basically, the cause of sadness or cause of grief lies within our own self, to which the world will add into, that they can do. What is already potentially there, the world can bring it to surface and magnify it. But the potential must be there. In the fire, in the stove, if the embers are there, then by blowing air, we can create a flame. You see, in the olden days, there were, we used to use those fireplaces where you put wood and set it to fire and then blow air. So by blowing air, when would there be flame? If there is an ember to begin with. If there is no ember, simply cold wood is there, you can blow as much as you want, nothing will happen. So you can say that it is you who has caused fire by blowing air, okay. But for that, the ember, the potential was there, then alone blowing air would cause fire, not otherwise. And so also some kind of an ember must be there within me, that when you blow in terms of behaving in a certain way with me, saying something to me, not saying something to whatever, I perceive as an insulting behavior or unbecoming behavior. It is like blowing air. But then the flame of sadness or grief happens within me because that ember, the potential was there. And therefore, Vedanta teaches that we have to look at our own selves for the cause of grief. And what is that? What causes me grief? Swamiji, you're right. I know, I am like that. So that's one thing. I think that I am such and such, I am good for nothing, I am stupid, I am a failure. That's what I am, Swamiji. Therefore, there is cause of grief. Thus we have so many complexes about our own self. And in most of those complexes, we generally do not have a high opinion about ourselves or a good opinion about ourselves. Mostly, our opinion about ourselves is not satisfactory, not acceptable. Thus, Vedanta draws our attention to our own mode of thinking. It is not that I or Atma is responsible for grief, nor the world, the Anatma is responsible for grief or sadness. Neither I am the cause of sadness, nor you are the cause of sadness. Then what's the cause of sadness? It is a certain pattern of thinking which is cause of sadness. What is sadness? Sadness is a state of mind. In a state of mind which is a result of a certain pattern of thinking. Sadness or grief does not arrive in one moment. Even a negative thought also does not immediately cause grief. Suppose you said something that hurt my feelings. If that event I do not pay attention to, or I do not give importance to that event, then momentarily I may feel hurt and then it may slip my mind, I may be okay. But my habit is to ruminate over that event. That this person said something to me. Why is it so? I am not like that. What business that person has to say that? Thus I keep thinking about it. He said this, I don't deserve it. He is unfair. He always does it. That day also he did it. Earlier also he did it. And thus a whole chain of events comes to my mind. In the beginning, I am hurt, then I get angry, and then I feel helpless, and then I feel sad. Hurt, angry, helpless, sad. So sadness or grief is caused by a sense of helplessness. When I find I am helpless, I cannot, particularly if that person happens to be my boss, who says things to me, and sometimes in presence of other people. If he said things to me privately, it's okay. Don't read in the class, okay? Please listen. If he says something to me in private, that also is okay. But sometimes he says things in presence of other people. How can he do that? What business does he have? But I feel, because I can't say anything to him. He's my boss. If I react to him, I may lose my job. And my job is very important to me. And therefore, I have to keep quiet. Thus I feel helpless. I am hurt, I am angry, helpless, and then I feel sad. So sadness or grief is a result of a sense of helplessness. I cannot get done things that I want to get done, or I cannot avoid what I do not want. What I want, I cannot get. What I do not want, I cannot avoid. In both the cases, I feel helpless. Thus, helplessness is the cause of grief. Helplessness is the cause of sadness. Why do I feel helpless? What is behind the helplessness? Is it simply an external situation that is unfavorable? Is it what makes me feel helpless? Or it is a perception about me that makes me feel helpless? It is a perception about me, ultimately, which makes me feel helpless. What is that perception? I am no good. I am not all right. I am not acceptable to my own self. I am not able to live up to my own expectations of myself. As human being, I have expectations of myself. I think that I should be such and such. And I constantly evaluate and judge myself whether I am able to live up to my own expectations or not. When I find myself living up to my own expectations, I am happy also. So when am I happy? That also would be interesting to know. Happiness also is not necessarily caused by an external situation. But an external situation can trigger a sense of self-acceptance, self-congratulation. When I congratulate myself, when I feel proud of myself, when I feel worthy in my own perception, that is when I am happy. On the other hand, when I feel I am not worthy, I feel that I am not competent, I feel that I am not strong, or whatever expectation I have of myself, if I am not able to live up to those expectations, then I do not accept myself, I dislike myself, I am dissatisfied with myself, and it is that train of thought of self-dissatisfaction that builds up into sadness. So this is very important to understand. What makes me unhappy? Whether you call it unhappiness, sadness, grief, sorrow, all of these are essentially the same thing. Whether you call it freedom from sadness, or freedom from grief, freedom from sorrow, freedom from unhappiness, it's all the same. If we just understand this very simple thing, that unhappiness or sorrow is caused by self-non-acceptance, not accepting myself. And in that, the external situation becomes a cause. External situation becomes incidental in triggering this self-non-acceptance. Even without anything happening out there, I can be unhappy. There is no rule that something has to happen out there for me to feel unhappy. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and some kind of thought occurs and builds up. And I become sad. Sometimes I wake up in the morning sad. I guess before I quite woke up, some kind of thoughts were going on in my mind. And when I wake up, just sad, unhappy with myself, frustrated with myself. So it is not necessary that something has to happen out there to make me sad. I am quite enough to make myself sad. All that is necessary for me to become sad is myself. By that token, all that is necessary to make me happy also is myself, meaning that I am enough to make myself happy, I am enough to make myself sad. Why do we say I am enough to make myself happy? Because Lord Krishna says that. Describing a wise person, Lord Krishna says, Atmaneva Atmana Tushtaha. This person is happy with himself, by himself. Means that it is possible that we can be happy with ourselves without the need of anything else. It's possible. By the same token, I can be unhappy with myself without the need of any external thing happening. Why am I unhappy with myself? Because, as I said, I find myself not being able to live up to my own expectations of myself. What expectation do I have of myself? What do I want? Swamiji, I want to be successful. I want to be strong. I want to be efficient. I want to be successful. I want to be in charge. I want to be in control. That's what I want to be. And the world does not always oblige me by allowing me to do this. I want to control the world. When the world refuses to be controlled by me, even a child refuses to be controlled by me. As long as a child is infant, so long it responds to whatever I want. Like a dog responds to what I want. I throw a ball, the dog goes and I like the dog very much because I throw the ball, the dog goes and brings it back. I throw it other way, it does exactly what I want. So I'm very happy with the dog. The dog remains with me for 12, 13 years as long as the dog is alive. But my child, even 12, 13 years is too much. 5, 6 years. When it starts going to school, and then it gets exposed to, then in the school they are told that you must do only what you believe. This is, the individuality is given importance. That's how this culture is, where individuality is very, very important. And it has many advantages also. Because then you are made to take responsibility. You are made to take all the decisions yourself. You decide. When you decide, you also take the responsibility. So this culture teaches you to take responsibility, make decisions for yourself. But in that also, it makes you grow fiercely independent. And generally speaking, the interpretation of what independence is the freedom to do what I want to do. Usually that's how freedom or independence is interpreted. That freedom is interpreted as my freedom to do what I want to do. And if my parents and others do not cooperate with me, then there is resistance. So soon I find that even a child, if I throw the ball, it says, why should I bring it? You go get it. Watching television, please, switch off the television. Do I have to? Why should I? A little one says to me, please switch off the television. Do I have to? That's it, that's all. I cannot control, I feel frustrated, I cannot control. So whenever I find that I cannot meet with or live up to my own expectation of myself, where I expect myself to be perfect, expect myself to be efficient, expect myself to be successful, expect myself to be in control. And if I had a constant definition of what is meant by success, I can perhaps make it one day. But even as I am achieving the so-called success, my expectation and definition of success changes. When I did not have anything, I thought success meant that if I had $10,000, it would be wonderful. By the time I had that, my expectation grew to $25,000, $100,000, $1 million, and whatever. And thus, expectation keeps on growing. I can never catch up with my own expectation of myself. So what do I ultimately expect of myself? I expect that I should be limitless. I should be totally free. I should be limitless. I should be perfect, this is my expectation of myself, and nothing in the world or no accomplishment can ever make me feel that way. Even the highest accomplishment also makes me feel happy for a while. When I congratulate myself, I feel proud of myself for a while because I got a certain award, etc. Makes me feel good. But that lasts only for a short time. As I said, it is like a high which is followed by a low. And then I find that, okay, that's all right, so what? What next? So this has happened. I got the Nobel Prize, so what? What's next? There are so many Nobel laureates, I am one of them. So what, I became the President of the United States, so what? There have been so many in the past, 43 presidents. So any accomplishment, until you get it, of course it's great. When you get it, for a while you enjoy it, and then you get used to it. So no accomplishment seems to give me a lasting sense of satisfaction, and again I become dissatisfied with myself, and again I'm driven to do something else to again get satisfaction. What do I expect myself? Vedanta says that you expect yourself to be limitless, you expect yourself to be complete, and regardless of what you achieve, you can never feel limitless. You can never become limitless. You can momentarily feel, but can never have a lasting sense. You can never become limitless. And this is a problem. Until I become limitless, I cannot be satisfied with myself. Until then, I cannot be free from unhappiness. Understand this. When can I become limitless? This body, Swamiji is always, in fact, as I am growing old, the body is becoming more and more disabled, more and more frail, and so it is failing me now. Body does not support me. I cannot easily get up. So when I come into the class, those who cannot get up, they need not get up. I just want to say, because it's a lot of trouble. People are sitting with the difficulty, as soon as Swami comes, they need to get up, which may not be possible, if the knees and other things are giving you trouble, then don't worry, I will understand it. Of course, then don't take advantage of that also. Swami just said you need not get up, so why should I get up? Then I will feel hurt. What does it take to make me feel hurt? Nothing. You just don't get up. That's all. That's enough. If you get up, so what's the big deal? You see, that. If you respect me, that is okay. No big deal. But if you don't respect me, or I perceive you have not respected me, you need not disrespect me, but it's my perception that disrespected me, that's enough to hurt me. I expect complete respect under all conditions, at all times, at all places, under all conditions. Not everybody should respect me. Even a dog does not respect me. My neighbor's dog always barks every time I go out. So looks like our expectation of ourselves is bound to fail, and that way I can never be happy. I will always be sad, which is the condition. That human beings are generally sad, always sad. Sadness is always waiting. Now and then we become happy when we forget that sadness. Meaning forget that sense of insufficiency or inadequacy. Anytime I feel inadequate, insufficient, I feel sad, and when I forget that inadequacy for a moment, when something happens which I consider as favorable to me, respectful to me, when something happens out there which I consider as success, or where I consider that I am the author of that success, not just success, then I congratulate myself for a moment, then I feel proud of myself for a moment, and then at that time I forget that sense of inadequacy, I forget that sadness. Momentarily the cloud of sadness clears, and the sun of happiness shines, as I said, that sense of achievement or self-congratulation does not last very long. Again, the cloud of self-non-acceptance comes and I feel sad. Therefore, freedom from sadness can only come when there is self-acceptance. Sadness is because of self-non-acceptance, because I find myself inadequate, I expect myself to be adequate, I expect myself to be perfect, I expect myself to be limitless, and usually I find myself limited, I find myself inadequate, I find myself insufficient, and therefore I am dissatisfied with myself. And when the thought of dissatisfaction builds up, it results into sadness and even depression. That is why we get depressed. We are in need of something good happening out there now and then. Why something should happen. Nothing everywhere, wherever I touch, it all seems to turn to ashes. Nothing seems to work. Then we become really dejected. That's why we need some break. Give me a break. So I also tell the world, give me a break. For a change, please do something that I want. For a change, please love me. For a change, please accept me. That's what I'm begging all the time. Whatever I am doing is nothing but of the nature of begging so that you will become favorable to me, that you will somehow respect me, that you will somehow make me feel good about me. World, for a change, make me feel good about me. Don't keep on condemning me. But this seems to be the game. Everybody seems to play this game with each other. Everybody wants to feel good by making other person feel bad. Even between husband and wife also this goes on. Each one wants to feel superior by showing the other person inferior. And so husband says something to wife at home, then when they go out, when he is driving, then it is her turn. So driver is driven. Hey, you're going too fast, 65 miles, you're driving at 80 miles, slow down. He slows down. What is this? Is it a cart or a horse cart you're driving? Come on, pick up the speed. If he drives in left lane, so why do you drive in left lane? Drive in the middle lane. Middle lane, why do you always in middle lane? Drive in the left lane. That is her turn. When they go home and the food is served, then it is his turn. What is it? Every day the same problem, Too much salt, too much this is that. It looks like the world is bent upon making me feel miserable. That is why I have to always, please give me a break and make me feel good about myself. The world seems to have an agenda of making me feel bad about myself. Look at me. Sometimes the world is favorable. The world wants me to feel good about myself. So they do what I want them to do. They cook the food that I like. They do everything that I want. But then, I always want more. If the food is good, then also I am unhappy. Like this man, every day when he is sitting for meals, every day he is complaining, he is angry. Every day he has to complain. There is too much salt and this is not cooked properly, this is overcooked, this, that. And one day the food was perfect. Then also this man got angry. So why are you angry today? If you can cook like this, why don't you cook every day like this? So, reason for getting upset is always there. So whether you do well, then also do not do well, then of course they're upset. When you do well, then also people are upset. Thus, if I expect that the world will make me feel good, it's not going to work out. That we have been trying all the time. The whole of my life I have tried to please the world, so that world will please me. I am not pleasing world for the sake of world, understand that. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad very clearly says, Atmanasu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Whatever is dear to me for my own sake. If I pleased you, I please you for my own sake, so that you will please me. If you fail to please me, I will also stop pleasing you, because how long am I going to do this, Swami? How long to do? People complain, how long am I going to do, Swami? You say that, okay, don't get angry, please him, do what he likes to do. I have been doing it. How long will I do? Because in even pleasing the other person, there is an expectation that other person will also please me. And if that does not happen, I become disappointed. So whole of my life is gone in trying to please the world, trying to get approval of the world. And what all do I do to get approval? Because I do not approve of myself, because I am not pleased with myself, therefore this need to please the world, because I do not approve of myself, therefore seeking approval of the world. This is the game that is going on. All of this is out of sadness. Seeking approval of the world, out of sadness. Seeking to please the world, out of sadness. In fact, every desire is an expression of sadness, ultimately. But that's too big a statement, Swami. The moment I say that, people will react, means Swami, you are telling us to give up desires? No, we didn't say that. Is it wrong to have desires? I didn't say that. All I am saying is that every desire also ultimately is an expression of sadness. How do you say that, Swami? On one hand, we also say that to desire is also a gift. Ichha Shakti is a gift, that's okay. It's a privilege to be able to desire. But at the same time, even desire also is an expression of grief. Why do I say that? Again, that's what Lord Krishna says. Describing a person who is happy, I just quoted, Atmaneva Atmana Tushtaha. This person is happy by himself, without need of anything other than himself, the person is happy. That's one characteristic of a happy person. What's the other characteristic? Prajahadi yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan. Hey Arjuna, when all the desires arising in the mind have dropped off, meaning that person also is free of all the desires. This is a characteristic of a person who is happy, who is free from grief or free from sadness, is also a person who is free from desires, meaning free from every desire, in fact, is of the nature of demand from the world. That the world should do this for me, and this person is free from these demands. You look at the desire. Ultimately, behind the desire, there is a demand. That this is what the world, I am doing this is what the world should do for me. A desire is an expression of an inner need. A need shows a sense of inadequacy. So every desire is ultimately an expression of sense of inadequacy. Nobody desires anything if they have what they want. We do not desire something that we already have, is it not so? Does anybody desire what they have? As Swamiji tells this story, this man performed penance, austerities, and God appeared before him. And so God says, tell me what do you want? I'll give you what you want. So this man made a simple request. God, please give me a head over my shoulder. God says, what? Please give me a head over my shoulder. Even God says, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Why? I thought you were God. You can do anything. Yes, I can do anything, but I cannot give you a head over your shoulder because you have one. If you want something behind your head, if you want some eyes behind the head, I can give you. If you want one more eye, I can give you. If you want if you want something inside the head, I can give you, but I cannot give you what you have. We do not expect this kind of dialogue to take place anyway. I don't think anybody would ask for a head over the shoulder. Unless some problem has happened and one feels that I don't have a head. Although how we can think without that? It's possible that something can happen inside pathologically. But normally, nobody will ask for a head over shoulder because I know I have it. In short, nobody can desire for something that they have. A desire is always for something which I don't have or I think I don't have. And thus, a desire is an expression of a sense of want or a sense of lack or a sense of inadequacy, a sense of non-acceptance and therefore sadness. That is why when my desire is satisfied, I become free from sadness. I feel happy. When desire is not satisfied, I become more sad than what I was. And so what is the solution of the freedom from sadness? In one lecture itself you have covered the whole thing. What is the cause of sadness? Self-dissatisfaction, self-non-acceptance. And what's the solution of becoming free from sadness? Self-acceptance. That's very simple. Accepting myself as I am. But Swami, I cannot. How can I accept myself? I am an incomplete being, inadequate in every way. So Vedanta teaches, how can we accept ourselves? In two ways. One is at the level of understanding, other is at the level of doing. One is at the level of understanding, other is at the level of doing. Understanding is called knowledge. Doing is called yoga. So Bhagavad Gita teaches us these two things. Gives us knowledge as well as gives us a way of life where that knowledge is put into practice so that our life becomes yoga or in keeping with that knowledge. What's the knowledge? What knowledge does Bhagavad Gita give us? Bhagavad Gita gives us the knowledge of the realities of life. Reality about ourselves. So not knowing realities and knowing them wrongly causes sadness. Knowing something wrongly can cause sadness. And sometimes, even after knowing it correctly, not accepting it also causes sadness. So two problems can be there for sadness. One is taking things to be different from what it is, meaning a wrong perception or a false perception about something can cause sadness. Or secondly, even after knowing what the reality is, not accepting the reality also causes sadness. And thus, in order to deal with the problem of sadness, these two things are necessary. Understanding the realities of life and learning how to live a life which is based on acceptance of realities of life. Understanding the realities of life and accepting the realities of life. Understanding, accepting and living a life which is in keeping with the realities of life. This is what Bhagavad Gita teaches, and that is how we can overcome the sadness. It's a process. To become sad also is a process. To become free from sadness also is a process. It will not happen overnight, but we can initiate a process by which we can progressively become free from sadness. So this is how our approach will be during the remaining part of this camp. We will discuss these two aspects, the realities of life, how to accept the realities of life, how to live in keeping the realities of life, and how thus progressively become free from sadness. We will continue in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.